This is SportsCenter.
Happy Monday. It is SportsCenter. Shea Cornette, Matt Berry with you. And as we come on air, continuing coverage of the breaking news from 20 minutes ago. This is a big one for two fan bases. Dan Hurley has decided to turn down the Lakers job and remain at UConn.
Of course, that is our breaking news here on SportsCenter. We're going to have it covered for the next hour or so. Let's get now to the man that broke it. Hello to Adrian Wojnarowski. And Woj, what can you tell us about how this all came to be?
Shea, Dan Hurley just informed his players, his administration, that he's turned down the Lakers job. He's going to remain at UConn, chase a third straight national championship. I'm told he was offered a 6-year deal worth $70 million. That would have put him among the top 6 highest paid coaches in the NBA. The Lakers were relentless in their pursuit of Hurley, but ultimately, his opportunity to make history at UConn, to win a third straight title, to do that for the first time potentially since the John Wooden UCLA teams, was too much to walk away from at UConn. Obviously, back-to-back national championships, and Dan Hurley was really taken away by the Lakers' courtship. He spent Friday out in LA with his family, with Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, and there was a lot of momentum walking out of that room that night. I'm told, that Dan Hurley very well could be the next Lakers coach, but he came back east, and ultimately, I think the timing of this, again, with a team that's preseason top 5, Alex Caravan, his best returning player, returning to school, pulling out of the draft, a lot of factors, but the NBA's always been an ambition of Dan Hurley's, and the chance to talk to the Lakers, to be offered the Lakers job, and really sit with them on a vision of what it looked like. This was not an easy decision for him. He viewed this, I'm told, as really a once-in-a-lifetime offer. Now, he had already been talking with UConn about a new deal, about another contract after winning his back-to-back title that will put him among the highest paid coaches in college basketball. But they'll eventually, I'm told, finish that up. But the Lakers' money was substantial, nearly $12 million a year. And again, Hurley thought long and hard about this. This is the 20th anniversary of the Lakers' courtship of Duke's Mike Krzyzewski. He stayed at Duke, and now Dan Hurley returns to the 2-time defending champion Connecticut Huskies.
The reality of this, Woj, is that Dan Hurley is deciding to stay in Storrs, Connecticut instead of going to Los Angeles, where he's right. This feels like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to coach the Los Angeles Lakers. And so, where do the Lakers go from here?
The Lakers will regroup now, Shea. Listen, they were dogged in their pursuit of Dan Hurley, but they had been interviewing candidates throughout. Really over the last week, that had slowed up when they started to really zero in on their talks with Hurley, and there was a sense on both sides that this could very well happen. James Borrego, who's also involved in the Cleveland job, he's the top assistant in New Orleans. You can expect them to talk to him again. He's been in Los Angeles for a formal interview. I think there'll probably be 2, 3, 4 candidates they'll revisit. JJ Redick, he had an initial kind of a get-to-know-you conversation that several candidates had with the Lakers. That was at the Chicago Draft Combine with Rob Pelinka. That was an hour 15. Not a formal interview, but more of just sitting down talking. But Redick had not yet been brought in for a more formal interview. That could happen too. But the Lakers, I'm told, their hope is that they can get a coach in by the draft at the end of June. But certainly, they really wanted Dan Hurley. They saw him as a legacy coach in LA. They thought he was the best available coach out there. And ultimately for Dan Hurley, whose roots are in the East, who has spent his years as a high school coach and now obviously perhaps the preeminent college coach in the game right now, they couldn't quite get there. And I think certainly, again, the timing of a coach who has a team returning that could win 3 straight NCAA championships for Dan Hurley, that was too much to walk away from. And so the Lakers, they'll resume their search. And Dan Hurley, he's in the gym today practicing with his team.
Doesn't miss a beat. I want to stay with Los Angeles. One more question here before I let you go, Woj. What does this now mean for LeBron James? We showed the coaching carousel that has been there in Los Angeles, and we're going to add another one to the list at some point this offseason. But what does this mean for LeBron going forward?
Well, LeBron's potentially a free agent, and certainly part of the lure of Dan Hurley for the Lakers, for Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, and I think LeBron James, too, was the possibility of having a coach who's known as perhaps, the best among, player development coaches in the country right now. You have seen the improvement in UConn players. They are churning out lottery picks, NBA players, and the possibility that Bronny James could land under that tutelage, that was one of the factors that certainly intrigued the Lakers. They have the 55th pick in the draft. They could certainly still, look to bring in Bronny James. I think player development is going to be an important part of whomever gets this Lakers job, that this isn't just about the next 2 years and doing everything you can to win with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. That's obviously a priority. But beyond that, developing the young players on their roster. They've got the 17th pick in this draft. And so those were all factors certainly that made the Lakers want to hire Dan Hurley. But now they'll go back and, certainly, there are other coaches, qualified coaches certainly, who could fit that criteria.
Okay.
Perk, just right out of the gate, your thoughts on Hurley's decision to turn down the Lakers?
Well, the Lakers got to feel some type of way, Matt. When you think about the Lakers, right, we're talking about one of the most historical franchises in sports, right? 16, 17 banners, championships, a lot of greats that played for that organization, a lot of greats that coached for that organization. And the truth of the matter is they've been dysfunctional over the last 4 years. And if I'm the Lakers, I'm disappointed because there's nowhere in here I let Dan Hurley, leave out of L.A. I would have held them hostage. He was the perfect candidate for this job. I thought he would have been the perfect coach for this job long term. Again, when you're talking about the Lakers and this coaching search, this is not a LeBron James hire. This is the Anthony Davis and the organizational hire, meaning for the future. It's too many times that the Lakers over the past couple seasons, they've been focusing, their main focus is how can we win now because of LeBron James. They need to move past that stage. I don't know who's going to sit next in that seat. I can't lie, I'm a little disappointed for the simple fact that I wanted to see college coaches start making that leap more and more because I'm tired of the NBA rotating suits.
Sure.
Like we're seeing it right now. Frank Vogel get fired from the Lakers, he end up in Phoenix. Doc Rivers get fired from Philadelphia, he end up with the Bucks. I want to see new people in those head seats, and I thought, Dan Hurley would have been a prime example of setting a trend.
So you said something interesting there, and I want to peel it back a little bit. You said that this hire, and even Woj alluded to it, that this hire perhaps for the future of the Lakers without LeBron James. One problem, Perk. LeBron James is still there. There's the stories about him wanting the franchise to draft his son, Bronny. There have been 3 coaches for LeBron James since he's been in L.A. This would have been his 4th. This will be his 4th. So how much of this is on LeBron that they can't get any semblance of consistency since he's been there?
Well, at the end of the day, when is LeBron going to take a back seat, right? Like we hear the reports right now coming in from his agent, Rich Paul, saying that he has no parts or want no dealings for us with helping the Lakers find a coach. Okay, at the end of the day, guess what? Clutch, Rich Paul also has another client that he needs to be worried about that's in the Laker uniform, and that's Anthony Davis. It goes to even the relationship of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. How long have we been hearing LeBron James saying that he's passing the torch or giving Anthony Davis the keys to the car to drive, but Anthony Davis is still driving the car sitting in the passenger seat? Mm-hmm. At some point, Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, they have to make a business decision what's best for the organization and not what's best for LeBron James. And I'm just keeping it real. It's no knock on LeBron James, but the man is turning 40 next year. You do realize after that he's going to be 5 years away for being eligible for his pension.
Yeah. I mean, He's got a lot of mileage on him. And there were people that thought, Perk, when you look at Dan Hurley and his style relative to what we know LeBron does and doesn't like, there were people that looked at this, Perk, and they're like, wait a second. Hurley's too fiery for a guy like LeBron who handles things the way LeBron and company handle it.
But see, that's another point, Matt. I wonder what went on in that meeting, because I came on here when Woj announced it last week or a couple of days ago and said that, things got real heated for us, the conversation with Hurley and the Los Angeles Lakers. And I said that the number one thing that Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka need to make Dan Hurley feel is comfortable and make him feel like they could trust him because of the dysfunction, right? And when you look around the league and you look at organizations that are having success, like you look at the Miami Heat with Eric Spoelstra, right? You're looking at all these, you're looking at the young Minnesota Timberwolves with Coach Finch. They have the support of the front office that they could be the best version of themselves and hold guys accountable. Even Michael Malone in Denver. How many times have we seen him call out his team publicly and his team responded? That's what they need. That's why we're not seeing that. That's why we're seeing so many coaches get fired, is because they don't really have a backbone, because the organization is supporting the franchise players more than they're supporting their own coaches.
You wonder if this will be at a tipping point with NBA coaches around the league. Perk, give it his perspective. And Kendrick Perkins, it's settled. I'm just going to add your name to the coaching list for the Lakers right here, right now.
Might as well. I'll take you as my assistant, Matt.
I appreciate that. We'll get it done. Hanging banners. Kendrick Perkins, thank you.
All right.
And Seth, I know you know Dan Hurley very well. So what do you make of this decision for him to stay at UConn? I assume it wasn't super surprising to you.
It was a really difficult decision. I was talking to Danny last night at 10 o'clock at night, and he was not totally committed to understanding what he was going to do. But I just listened to Big Perk's interview. This was less about the Lakers and more about the Hurleys. This was less about the Lakers and more about UConn. This is about family to Dan Hurley. And I joke around and I say that the Hurleys are like the Reagans of Blue Bloods. They do everything around the table and they do it together. And I think that you don't mess with Happy. And I think in the end, the idea of having a chance to win a third national championship, his commitment to the players that he recruited, his passion for the college game in this moment in time, I think those were probably factors in his decision. It was a grueling decision. As he said last night to me, I said, this is absolutely brutal. But in the end, he loves UConn. He loves his players. And he really feels that in this moment in time, I would suspect, because of this decision, he feels like this is in his best interest.
Okay, so just so we have perspective here, Dan Hurley, 68 wins in the last 2 seasons. That's more by any team in Division I during that span. And so now we look at the big picture here, Seth Greenberg. What does this mean for college basketball? Dan Hurley going back to UConn.
I think it's huge. You're talking about, everyone's saying, what's going to happen to face of college basketball? Who's the face of college basketball? You still have John Calipari. You still have Bill Self. You lost the Boeheims. You lost the Williamses. In college football, you lost Nick Saban. College athletics is looking for a face. It's looking for a voice. And the great thing about Dan Hurley, he's not afraid to basically let his voice be heard. He's genuine. He's authentic. He's real. And he has opinions. He has great passion. So to me, I think it's a great day for college athletics. As much turmoil as our collegiate athletics are under right now, I think this is a really good sign that a person like Dan Hurley could take the Lakers, one of the 3, to me, iconic brands in the NBA, and say, I am really appreciative of your interest, but my heart, my soul, my family, this is my team. I'm going back to UConn.
Yep, and again, he's going to try and chase that 3rd straight title. Going back to Storrs, Connecticut is Dan Hurley and staying with the UConn Huskies. Seth Greenberg, we really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for being with us.